Good evening. Welcome to episode 4 of Behind the Bombers, and we're lucky enough to be joined tonight by head coach Chris Stubbs, who's kindly made a little bit of time in his busy schedule to have a chat to us. Welcome, Chris.
Welcome, Nate. Thank you, mate. Always a pleasure.
Look, we've got about 10 questions to go through. Nothing hard. Hopefully, it'll entice some thought and a few laughs and stuff throughout. But looking forward to hearing a little bit more about you. I know lots of people within the club have spent a lot of time with you over the years throughout Bay and Basin's time. But I'm sure there'll be a lot of viewers interested to hear a few more details about you and what you're bringing to the footy club. So let's kick it off. Just tell us a little bit about you in brief, what you do, where you've come from, and occupation. Just some basic facts about yourself.
Okay. Yeah. Listen, I grew up in Canberra. Played all junior footy down there. Played some senior footy. Played for Belconnen. And it was a pretty good standard when I was down there. So really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed my time there. I went overseas. I went to uni there, and then I went overseas. Did Camp America, and I met my now wife there. She was English at the same camp, and that was in 1989. So I know there's a lot of guys in our side that weren't born then. That betrays my age a little bit. Yeah. So anyway, we moved back here. Moved back we moved to the south coast in '92. And have been here ever since. So we have I have two children. Most people obviously know Sam, but a lot of people may not be aware. We've got an older daughter, Molly, delightful older daughter. She's 28 and she lives in Sydney. She's a florist. She's very creative and she gets all of her creative energy from her mother, none from me whatsoever. And I'm not, there's no one will dispute that. Who knows who I am. I work in the child protection sort of foster care industry. I did child protection with DCJ or Docs for many years, for 11 years, and then I actually moved when Sam started school because I wanted to be more involved in the community and the school with him, and it was a bit harder to do in that role. So I moved and working for an organisation called Care South, and actually this month will be 21 years that I've actually worked with the same organisation in a similar role, which
Yeah.
is pretty unusual these days, and maybe
Mm.
somewhat a little bit crazy, but I still love the people that I work with and still like what I'm doing. But but at some point I'm actually doing a Cert 3. I did a Cert 3 in physical fitness, and I'm doing a Cert 4 at the moment. And my longer term aim is to move into that space and start to look at PT for maybe with a focus for people my age, or I've obviously done some work with a lot of people with disabilities based on Sam's experience.
Yeah.
So looking to sort of do that. So I'm actually I had put in the chat in the women's chat earlier about trying to get some clients to assist me in getting through that process, and Blocky is very kindly helping me out too as an observer too. So not involving everybody in the endeavours as well. But that's sort of the basis of where we're at. Did anything else you think I should add, or?
No, I think it's pretty cool that you've been able to love the work that you do and remain in a role for such a long period of time. Maybe it's because you were just hoping to get the double long service leave, possibly. But no, it sounds like you enjoy what you do and you enjoy being a part of the community, which sort of leads me on to the next question is around the Bay and Basin Bombers is a community football club within the Jervis Bay region. What led you to become involved with the Bay and Basin Bombers to where we are now today?
Yeah, so obviously I grew up playing footy. I actually did play for Bomaderry when I first came here. I had a few mates playing there. And then obviously I drifted away after we had kids and I got too old. And then when Sam was about 11, a mate of mine, Phil Kennedy, who was involved with the club for a long time, his son is a year younger. They were getting an under 11s team together, and he said, "Did Sam want to play? And are you interested in sort of helping out?" And I said, "Oh yeah." I was actually coaching my daughter's soccer at the time too, so I said, "Listen, I'm a bit busy, but if you got someone else, that's okay." And he said, "No, there's no one else." so, um, So that was So that was when Sam was in under 11s, and he just turned 26. So I pretty much stayed with him all the way through his junior footy. We and I was in the president role a number of times, and pretty much on the committee and vice president roles for various times. And I mean, I've just loved being a part of the club, the community aspect of it, being engaged with a lot of young people, in particular in the junior days, which has been one of the great joys of coaching the seniors now, is seeing the number of junior players who were juniors that I coached as kids who are now coming back and playing as men. You had Jacob on there last week, and he's one of those as well. So that's been awesome. But then once we sort of got I had a little merger with Bomaderry for a little while in the 17s. We did that for 3 years just so that we could get kids playing footy. And then Sam got too old to play, and obviously it was hard to engage him in a senior team. So we focused on women's, and so actually I was inaugural in getting a women's team up, which was the first time that the Bombers had one in the comp. COVID then destroyed us a bit, as it did for a lot of people.
Mm.
But then we had a bit of a link with Nowra Vikings for a while, and we joined up with them and had a joint team. And then a couple of years ago, we decided to go our own for the women's. And then 2 years ago, we were keen. We actually wanted to get a men's team because we thought it'd actually be better to have a men's and a women's. And interesting enough, our women's team, we didn't get enough numbers to turn up, and blokes just kept turning up for the men. So we ended up having a men's team, and we didn't have a coach for them. So I stepped into that role. I was originally going to coach some women. We didn't do it. And then, I've just sort of stayed with it, and it's been awesome. Having that a different type of connection, and then obviously Sam's had the opportunity to be engaged, which has been obviously a great personal joy for me, and then obviously having him being part of the inclusion thing that the AFL is doing is really exciting too. But and as it's gone on, I've just we've talked about building a connection, and it's been really interesting meeting so many young adults who are playing, women and men, who probably don't have a huge connection. They might be new to the area, or they don't know a lot of things, and the footy club's become really, really important. So it's been super exciting to be a part of that. And listen, I get more joy out of that than I do from winning football games. Which I get joy out of winning football games. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, creating an opportunity for guys to come together and building connection, that's where I get energy from. I get an energy being around people and getting them engaged.
So it sounds like community sort of goes hand in hand with inclusion, and it sounds like you could have maybe stopped at the juniors and maybe a women's team, but it was important to be inclusive throughout all the sexes, and even with you talking about inclusion with disabilities as well, it's making it accessible for everyone in the region. Would you say that's a fair comment?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And listen, I run the Auskick as well, which again, one would wonder, is there enough time in the day? But I love that too, just engaging with the little kids, and we've got, and what I've done there is tried to get guys who were involved in the juniors years ago, and their kids have grown up and they don't have a game, and I'm getting them back involved in the Auskick and starting to build with that, which has been great as well. So, but yeah, listen, I think we've always been an inclusive club, and listen, shout out to Michael. He's just been amazing, in the role that he's done, and we've been very well connected and engaged, driving the vision, I guess, of what we're wanting the club to do. And it's building, or even this, that this is sort of new, and it's awesome seeing, at the ground we start to look the part as well. So lots of it's that's a big strong part of who I am. And I like being connected. And listen, it was always a vision and a focus for us, for Sam to be connected to the community as well. And the footy club's been a strong part of that.
Yeah, awesome. And that, I mean, you've talked a little bit about this, about the culture that has been building at the club for a while now. What does a great club culture mean to you, and how have you seen it evolve over probably the last few years in particular?
Yeah, listen, we've stuck to a pretty simple mantra, which is that create an environment that people want to be a part of. So that's not create an environment where we're trying to win footy games. We're trying to get people along because they want to be there and want to enjoy being a part of it. Coming along to training and kids, parents coming along and enjoying the experience, and the kids coming along and feeling safe in that experience. Particularly, you get kids from different walks of life, and female players playing with men, in the junior age groups and that sort of stuff, and you really want them to sort of go, oh, I like being around this place, listen, being successful in the field can help. But it's not, in my experience, it's not formally linked to it. I mean, once you get to senior footy, obviously then, you're playing with adults who have a greater focus on being successful, and that's part of it. But I still also think that, and we've managed to balance that out pretty well in the men's. I mean, we've been reasonably successful in the men's in the last few years, and, I've got no reason why we shouldn't be. But again, I want people to say, oh, I like coming along because I want to be a part of it, not because I want to come along because we're winning games of footy. I think that's a byproduct of having a successful culture and having people around and people engage with that. So
Yeah, great. That's definitely evident from my time at the club already, and I think that yeah, the success that's happened over the last couple of years definitely you can connect that with culture. So it's a great thing to see in action. It's all good and well talking about it, but I think everyone can clearly see that as well. Look, I'm going on to a bit of a. It might seem like a weird question, but it's something different. So imagine that Hollywood's taken over Jervis Bay, right? And they've come down to film a new movie about the Bay Basin bombers. Who who plays you in the movie?
Matt Damon.
Well, you didn't even hesitate on that. Now you need to explain why.
Oh, I just love Matt Damon. I think he's fantastic in everything he does. The Bourne movies are one of my favourites. So, yeah, it sounds like that was predetermined, wasn't it? No, I could sense where you're going with that, and I'm thinking, oh, and then yeah, he's popping mad. So, no, great. I just think he's awesome, and not necessarily thinking that I'm awesome, but yeah, and I think he'd do a good role. I think he'd do it justice. A little bit of an action man as well. So perhaps whether there's a link there or not, I don't know.
Well, to those watching, I'm sure there might be some nicknames that could come out of that particular question, but I'll leave
That's
that
fine.
to the viewers. Um,
Actually, interesting enough with the nickname one, I noticed because I thought you might ask me that. I mean, one of the interesting things, and you're seeing my name there on the screen, there's a large amount of people in the footy club that wouldn't know my name's Chris. Because it's just never comes up. In fact, it's really only a name that people know me at work. Or in the community. I'm Stubber, and I quite like that. All the kids and that sort of stuff as well. So yeah. So the irony being that yeah, it's actually my Christian name that's the one that's the most that people don't know as much about.
I think a lot of people probably, as they get on in the years, they only get called their first name when they're in trouble by their mum or something.
Yes,
So
that's right.
we
No, that
we
was
love the nicknames.
yes.
Um, Rightio, I'm sure there's been lots of amazing and proud moments for you whilst you've been involved in the footy club. But if you could just think about it and give me one that might be easy that just comes to mind, one of the proudest moments you've had whilst being a part of the club so far.
I mean, I think having the men's and women's team play together last year, particularly at home. I mean, I don't think we were home for the very first week. I can't remember now, but yeah, having that was just such an awesome vision for me. I mean, Sam. From a personal perspective, being the first player to play 100 games last year was, yeah, it was really special for us as a family and for the community. There was a whole lot of guys that were there who'd been to primary school with him and played juniors with him and that sort of stuff. So they'd been a part of his journey, and so I think that was a broader connection than just 100 games. That was about that connection to community. And yeah, listen, I mean, I still love. I've difficult days, and it's hard sometimes to get to training and all that sort of stuff. I pull into. I got my own little spot. It's not my personal spot. It just happens to be where I park, and I just feel great every time I just get out of the car. I just but you can feel a buzz already, and I get connected and just saying good day to people, and I can really see as a club, with our juniors and even our seniors, there's so much. It used to be you turn up and I'm doing everything, but now we got. The other weeks we had so many people there, giving out the shirts and doing the barbecues and getting involved, and that part's just awesome. So I get a buzz out of that every time I turn up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of things you could bring up about proud moments and great things that have happened with the club. But yeah, those ones that you mentioned are obviously pretty important moments. And yeah, I was lucky enough to be there for Sam's 100 games. And yeah, I could see the extra people turning up within the community to celebrate that moment. And that only draws more and more people into the club and wanting to be involved, whether it be a spectator or a player or whatever. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Look, this question probably people don't know about you because a lot of conversations maybe players or internal committee members might have with you are more around football related stuff. But when you're off the field, when you're out of that shirt you're wearing now and you're a family man and so forth, what what do you do to unwind?
I mean, I'm not a normal unwinder because I do a lot of physical activity stuff. People have heard me say the mantra, put yourself outside your comfort zone, and I do that. So I'm up sort of 5 most days and exercising and doing my own stuff, and did an Ironman a couple of years ago and did Kokoda. I did High Rocks last year, which was a sort of a fitness type activity, and I'm not your traditional unwinder. And even when we go on holidays, we go on sort of extreme. I find the most obscure places you can get to, and I think if it's hard to get to, then there's less people there. And so we do pretty full on. Went to Indonesia just in January actually, and went up into central Sulawesi and then over into West Papua and into the northern Raja Hampered Islands, which were absolutely awesome. But yeah, it was a lot of work and a lot of logistics stuff to get there. So actually, I do all that. I do the logistics and organise all that sort of stuff too. But listen, I'll be honest, and listen, I obviously put in the chat on yesterday, whatever today's Monday, Sunday after the game. Sunday afternoon, sitting on my back deck with a quiet beer. I've got a Richmond fire pit, which if you really get it roaring, the fire comes out of the tiger's mouth. That's always the aim. That's the happy place. So if I had to say that's to be the best place for me to unwind, it's quiet moment there on a Sunday afternoon is where you can find me.
It sounds like the Richmond Fire Pit's the only Richmond firing though at the moment. Is that fair?
We'll take the 3 premierships that we got sort of a few years ago, mate. That's okay. They're in the bank, so we got a bit of time.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Do you have any hidden talents that no one knows about, or maybe people do know about?
Yeah, I actually wondered whether you would ask this question and even thought about it and still couldn't come up with anything. I don't. I'm pretty much what you see is what you get. I talk a bit. I enjoy stuff. I'm pretty active. I'm not very good at a lot of the fit stuff I do. I just keep doing it and just keep moving forward. But no, I can't play a musical instrument. I can't. I enjoy playing board games, but I'm not great at them. No. Sadly, I'm still working on that. But no, there's no hidden talent that I have to share. So
Fair enough. Um, so you've been a player in the past, and I know players will talk to other players and give them some feedback about the AFL experience and what it's like to play AFL for the first time if they're a first time player. But if you had a first time AFL player coming into your club room for the first time, it's their first game, what's some advice you would give to them?
um, I mean, I like. I keep it simple is probably a mantra I try and work on. I mean, I've one of the things I've started doing, or I started doing a number of years, and I still do it now, is that my pre-game talk that I try and give to people is always it's never football related, and in fact. it's designed not to be, but it has a link back to some, to a message. Because I found, I actually thought to myself over, my whole playing career, I didn't remember many pre-game talks. They all sort of blend into one. I mean, and I'm not suggesting that the coaches I had weren't good, and they were, because they were giving messages that were important on that day. But a
Mm.
lot of the time it gets diluted. So I guess I've tried to think about broader messages that you can use for football, but also have a sort of a deeper connection. But it's about just trying to keep it simple, sort of manage and build that connect. I mean, I talk about connection, but I think the other important thing about a connection is, as a coach, I'm not on the field. So the more you build a connection, then the players that are out there are actually helping support and guide, your teammates, and talking through, and reacting to what's sort of going on. So I would, I did speak to the to the women, and there was a number of them playing their first game last week, and I said, listen, work out which direction we're going, and if you get your hands on the footy, kick it that way. So and I wasn't being facetious, and a lot
No,
of them said, okay, great, because at
fair.
the end of the day, if you've not played before and you know what you're doing, that's just a simple way to just get it done, as long as you kick it. And as I said, the reason I flagged the point, make sure you know which way you're going, because of course we've probably all been there or seen it where people haven't actually been very clear on which way they're going, kicked it the wrong way, which would add to you, which wouldn't help the situation.
Well, I must admit that I'd heard snippets about, what you do in the club rooms before the game and stuff, but nothing in detail. And I was a little, to start with, I wasn't sure where you were going in the cricket nets at Kiama the other day when you were talking about salads and stuff. But in the end, it all came together and made sense to me. Obviously, the other guys knew the angle that you come in with, but for me, being first game with the club, I wasn't sure about the salad stuff and the mixture, but now it makes sense. And no, I think it's great. I think we do a lot of football related talk at training and even on the morning of game day, and to sort of have a low key chat about something completely off topic. I think it brings a sense of calm, and I thought I saw that in the nets from most people, having a laugh, being able to not feel the butterflies for 5 minutes. I'm 42 and I still get butterflies before a footy game, so no, I thought that was a really good touch.
One of my great joys is seeing the look on guys' faces, and you can tell they're going, "What the fuck is he talking about?" It's all part of the joy.
Don't
Hopefully
worry.
it doesn't. Hopefully it always makes sense. That's up to others to determine.
Don't worry, I don't have to edit out your swearing. I'm pretty sure we're all pretty comfortable with that word.
Yes.
um, in 3 words, if well, it can be more than 3 words if you want. I don't really care. That's my question. But if the players were able to describe your coaching style, how do you think they would describe you?
That's a good question.
And be honest, my question says here. Be honest.
Um, I'd hope they think I was supportive, um, positive. I'm probably overly positive, but I make no qualms about that. Um, and engaging. I make a point. I try to engage with every player at every training or every game. It might only be a handshake or a chat or a nod, but I think it's really important that there's some sort of connection of sorts with everybody. If you turn up, for me, if someone makes the effort to turn up, then I think there should be acknowledgement, and I always want to make sure I do that. So yeah, so that was a longer answer than three, but it was an expansion on what that
Yeah.
was. So.
And if anyone wants to make any comments, feel free to put it in the men's chat if you're a player.
Yes, that's right. Exactly. I'm open to feedback.
We all learn from feedback, don't we?
We do indeed.
All right, I got one last question to wrap it up, and this might be pretty deep, so get ready to go deep. What do you hope the legacy of your time with the Bombers will be on and off the field?
Ooh, that is deep. Um, yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, one of the things I've joked about is that when I was trying to obviously recruit players for the women's team, it was always a bit of a concern that I was on the edge of getting a restraining order because I'd be approaching random women in supermarkets and so forth. And so let's hope that's not one of the legacies. But I think, I mean, I'm probably known in the community as being, the AFL guy or the person that people sort of link with AFL. People ask about AFL and they're always asking me. And listen, I hope that what I've my contribution has made, the Bombers have are creating a club there, and I mean, there's a whole lot of people that play a role in that, so not just me, but I guess I'd like, hopefully be considered as somebody that helped, establish the club to, or help build some of the foundations for the club for continuing and being successful, as a club, for years to come. And I'd like to keep involved in the club in some format for as long as I'm able to. I don't know that I have the capacity to step away now, to be honest. So I think just I'm very proud and honoured to be associated with the club and be known as one of the long term people that's still there and engaged with it, and continue to do that for as long as I can.
I'm sure you'd agree that we often don't go into roles with an expectation to receive accolades or to be patted on the back for our job, but I'm sure you'll walk away from the game one day and see all the hard work that you've put in and be very proud of where the club's at that point and all that's been built from inception to now.
Mm. Well, I am now already, so so for whatever it becomes from now is a bonus. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I just want to thank you. I know you're a busy man, as you've mentioned a couple of times during the interview, and we all are. But I appreciate the time you've taken. I think it's important that not only the playing group, but the committee and the broader community who will be watching on in this video can just see that little bit extra of Stubber and what he does in the club and how he's contributed to the great culture that is already present at the Basin Bombers. So thanks for your time. I really appreciate it.
No worries. And listen, thanks to you, Nate, because I appreciate you're a busy man as well, and obviously you're giving up your time to do these, and they're awesome. I don't say mine's awesome, but the other ones I've seen so far have been great as well. And I'm going to give a shout out to you too, because for just commenting that people didn't know that you left the game, had to go leave the game early, but to go and win a cricket grand final on Saturday, which you contributed 85 and took 2 for 7. So pretty good day all round, mate. So good on you.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't like leaving my teammates in the lurch. I get a bit disappointed with having to leave, especially with games in the balance. But I did feel fairly confident that the players that were selected on the day had it, and they proved that. And I was really proud to see the score. So yeah, it was a great day overall, and I'm looking forward to hopefully another successful week. And yeah, thank you.
Definitely. No, thanks, mate. Good on you.
Cheers.